Right now, I'm actually hoping Bitcoin goes lower, and I know that sounds weird, but give me a minute to explain. I have 3 limit orders sitting in my Wealthsimple. Combined, they come out to around $6,000. Every single one of them only fills if Bitcoin drops lower. I have one set at 60K, 51K, this is US, and 45K. I'm sitting looking at the charts, silently hoping that we see those lower prices. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I set, why I picked those specific levels, and what my portfolio is actually going to look like if they all hit. I also ran the math on what Bitcoin price we actually need to get to succeed at this challenge and get 100K. That will be coming later in this video, and surprisingly, the number is not as crazy as you'd think. Now, here's the thing. Baked into my strategy is 2 layers. The first layer is obviously my DCA strategy. This is where I put 250 bucks every week, no matter what. Price could go up, could go down. It's irrelevant to me. I'm just steady stacking over time. That's the fundamental layer. Now, when I look at a chart and I see Bitcoin is down 30, 40, 50%, I see those levels and it makes me want to buy, specifically not just in the sense of buy the dip, but these are attractive levels that these are sometimes 2x's or they're attractive multiples of returns. So the question I always ask myself is, at what levels am I privy to buy? What looks attractive to me? Like, if I ask myself, do I want to buy at 60K? The answer personally is yes. Do I want to buy at 50K? That's absolutely I do. Do I want to buy at 40K? I'm scraping every dollar I can to buy as much as I can. So these tiered levels of understanding what's an attractive buy and where you're comfortable buying with, because remember, it's not just pick a level and buy. You need to have an understanding and conviction that these are attractive prices. That's obviously something you got to assess for yourself. What the limit orders do for you is they set a pre-commitment. If Bitcoin gets to these prices, it's automatic. There's no checking Twitter, there's no waiting for a further dip, it just buys. So I don't want to have to deal with checking sentiment or dealing with my emotions when it gets to a certain price, especially because when it does drop to those prices, I have DCAs at higher levels and I'm going to be in the red. So it's going to be emotionally taxing. So to remove that emotion, first I have the DCAs, next I have the limit orders. So all money is doing its thing, hands off. That is one thing I want everyone to take home with them, is set your strategy up so you don't have to think. It just takes action. Now that we've gotten the general strategy and the philosophy out the way, I want to get into the raw numbers and show you visually what I'm doing and how it plays out. But before we do that, I want to talk about some tools that I use. I personally use Wealthsimple to invest everything. I buy everything in my TFSA, so it's tax sheltered. If you're a Canadian citizen and you're looking for a bank to use, I highly recommend Wealthsimple. If you do plan on using Wealthsimple, feel free to use my link. I'd greatly appreciate it, and it supports the channel so I can keep making videos just like this. And also, because this is a Bitcoin focused channel, I want to also say that I have a link to Trezor if you're looking for a cold storage device to store your Bitcoin, because as easy as it is to use a broker or exchange or bank like Wealthsimple, I do suggest holding your own keys to your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. If you want to get a cold storage device, check my link down below. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the exact numbers. So like I said, we have a $250 DCA. It's automated, it's every Monday. Now I've deployed around 1,500, which is 6 different weeks of DCA. So we have until around June before we exhaust all the cash, and then I'll have to reassess whether I want to keep those limit orders or cancel them and continue the DCA. Now to get into the actual limit orders and the numbers surrounding them. So what you can see here is the 3 limit orders I've set up. Currently, we have one at $24.50, $21, and $18.50. Now, in Bitcoin, if you price it in Bitcoin, it's around 60K USD, then at around 51, and then 45. And as you can see, I'm buying more shares as the price goes down. So not only am I getting more shares for a lower price, I'm also upping the amount of money I'm buying those shares with. So it has an exponential amount of shares I'm buying based on how low the price goes. And this is just the way that I've set it up to maximize my growth. Now here's the true superpower with setting up limit orders. If you were to just DCA at the current price we're at, this is the math I did is based on the current price. Over time, if I just DCA'd all my money, I'd be able to buy around 340 shares of the IBIT. Now, assuming I hit all my limit orders and I exhaust all my DCAs at this price, then I would actually be able to accumulate 458 shares, which is significantly more than just the DCA. You can see I get 118 extra shares with the same 10,000 I put in. Now you can see and you can kind of visualize why limit orders are important, why they can help grow your account, and how even a small dip, like currently we're at around 70K, a small dip to 60K or another dip to 40, which isn't uncommon for Bitcoin, it can be a superpower in investing. Now, I also graphed out how these would compare in performance depending on where the Bitcoin price goes. So you can see if Bitcoin goes to 100K, we would be at 18,800 versus if we just DCA'd, it would be about 14,100. So that's already a almost $5,000 difference, right? And then we see when Bitcoin gets to 500K, we can see a large difference here where I would be at 94,000 and the DCA would only be at 70,000. So you can see as Bitcoin grows, these purchases at lower prices, getting shares for cheaper, they can affect your portfolio in bigger ways than you would normally think. Now, the key takeaway from this is that with a proper strategy, that same $10,000 can make a vast difference depending on how you apply it. Now, for this next chart I'm going to show you, this is a bit of moon math. We're trying to see what price Bitcoin would actually need to get to for my 100K challenge to be completely done, for the 10K to turn completely to 100K. Now, I'll show you that in a second, but if you're enjoying the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the video if you're not already. I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm doing my best to answer comments, so all the support helps. I'm trying to build a network, and I appreciate all the engagement I can get. Now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, we're going to look at what Bitcoin price I actually need to get to 100K. So here are the actual numbers. If I straight DCA at the prices I'm at right now, I will get about 0.1 of a Bitcoin, and I will need the Bitcoin price to get to about $700,000 USD. Now, I obviously am using Canadian dollars, so 10,000 Canadian dollars. You would assume 0.1, you need to get to a million. That is essentially the conversion. So I would need 700,000 US and about a million Canadian in Bitcoin price. And then we can see if all the limit orders hit, I will have about 458 shares, about 0.137 Bitcoin, and we would need a Bitcoin price of 500,000. So when I look at this and seeing these numbers, considering the argument and the use case of Bitcoin, the reasons I believe it has value, I think 500K is not unreasonable. This may not happen by the end of the year. This may not happen by the end of 5 years, but 500K, I think, is within range. It's a reality. Give it some time. We'll see the adoption and growth of Bitcoin. So looking at these numbers and seeing it written like this puts into perspective that we're not as far as we think, and patience and a good strategy is the only thing we can really do. Now, hopefully everything I shared was useful to you, and if you didn't know about limit orders, hopefully now you know a little bit more. That's the goal of this channel, is to educate and literally just share what I'm doing, share what I know. I'm learning with you guys, so this is something I learned and this is something I implemented in the strategy. Now we are going to get into the last bit, which is showing my actual portfolio. I do this every video, so we are going to show where my actual portfolio was at. Let's get straight into it. So here we are in my actual portfolio. We're up $82.67, which means our buys are actually up 5.5%. This is pretty good, but once again, the small movements are kind of just noise. I'm looking at things more long-term. I look at the weekly moves, and we've basically just been sitting at a range. I still have my limit order set. My DCAs are automatically letting go. And I'm still going to be watching indicators to see if anything fundamental is changing. I watch the news, but I really don't let it sway me in changing my thesis, because the underlying infrastructure and the protocol that is Bitcoin doesn't change no matter what the news event. If war is going on, JP Morgan's buying, I don't care, because fundamentally all of that is just, it's just short-term noise. I think the only course is the steady one when it comes to Bitcoin. So that is exactly what I'm doing. We are up, which feels good, but who knows what it'll be like next week. So thank you all for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.